Hey guys, welcome to Inspired by Miss Amber Red. I am here with Miss Amber Red.
Good job, Sasha. Good job. So that's what happens when the camera starts and Amber's like,
I'm going to help her out a little bit today. We're a little tired. So welcome to our episode about ombre brows.
Sasha is the best. What do you call yourself?
The best?
Wingman. She's like, I call myself the best.
Oh, I'm a wing woman.
But what'd you say? Co-host.
Co-host. Yeah, there we go.
Oh my gosh. We want to talk about eyebrows today. Sasha, how long has it been since I tattooed your eyebrows?
2 years now.
2 years?
The touch-up was a year ago.
Okay.
And then the first session was 2 years ago.
Cool.
Yep.
So eyebrows, I think sometimes in the industry, a lot of people, it's like they I don't want to say force. I'm not good with my words. They tell people to come back every year, or they tell people to come back a little too often, like more often than what I personally would recommend. So my view on that is, I could go so many places with this. But my view on that is I don't want to see somebody. So once I've done your initial procedure, I want to see you one time, maybe not, for a touch-up 10 weeks after. Mm-hmm. And then I don't want to see you any sooner than a year. I think Sasha probably knows because we get people that text and they're like, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, no. I'm like, when was the last time she was here? And I'll look and I'm like, 9 months. And I'm like, I know her eyebrows. They are full of color and she does not need a touch-up. Tell her to wait or tell her I'm busy until like July.
Yeah, even when clients come in, I'm like, I'll run to the back. I'm like, Amber, they don't need nothing.
Yeah, they don't need a touch-up.
They're there.
Yeah, so I think sometimes clients can get a little obsessive with wanting. Some people like that fresh look. I like that fresh look, so I get it. But it doesn't take the place of like topical makeup, right? So, because even sometimes, like your brows are tattooed. Do you have makeup on them today?
Nope.
You don't have no makeup on them today.
Nope.
So, because sometimes she puts makeup on them. I can never tell if she put makeup on them or not.
The only time I do put makeup is if I'm going out and I have like a full lash and full makeup, full beat. But other than that,
yeah,
I don't do it. I don't need it.
Yeah, no, they look good.
Yeah.
I don't think you need it. You probably don't need anything for at least another year.
Yeah.
Like, they look really good. Like, it's full saturated all out there. Mm-hmm. So, some of the ways that we achieve, like, longer-lasting results, I would say that is a little bit different. I think the industry is starting to warm up to larger shaders and things like that. But they're still very much so doing powder brows with the smaller needles. They're doing whip shading. And there's nothing wrong with that. But just in, like, reality, if we just look at the big picture, that stuff will never hold up as long as a shader will. It just can't. Like, a single needle is putting 1 dot of pigment into the skin versus an 8-round shader that's putting 8 dots of pigment in the skin. And this movement versus this movement are two totally different things. So if I'm using a shader and I'm diluting my pigment down and I'm using circle movements, I'm packing in that color. With that said, I sometimes wonder, I'd like to know an opinion on this. Like, I sometimes think that people are afraid that the results, what if they last too long? And I think they think it's going to cut into their money. Like, I think that they think, like, well, if I'm not seeing them every year, then I don't have a client base. Like, and I'm going to, no, I mean, I see it, but I'm like, you just have to keep hustling.
Yeah.
But when do we not, when do we not hustle? It's like, even if you've been doing it 10 years, you're still posting, you're still promoting, you're still running ads, you're still doing all this stuff. So I don't think that should be a determining factor. A lot of the time, like, we get referrals based on, like, like her brows, they're 3 years old. Well, yeah, and that's cool. Like, usually around, I would say 2 years is even, I feel a little early sometimes. I see people and they're still pretty good. But generally about 2 to 3 years is a good mark for me to, like, see people doing touch-ups. Or doing refreshes, I guess, at that point, it's past the touch-up. But yeah, the technique is what is, what is making the difference. I feel like single needle, and then obviously single needle doesn't do well on all skin types. Shader needle, if you know how to do an ombre brow and you know the concept behind it and all of the blending that you need to do that goes into an ombre brow, you can do that with a shader. You can get longer lasting results and on all skin types. We have been working on something special. that we have not talked about yet. I don't know if we should talk about it just yet. But something that is going to make a lot of artists' lives a lot easier, I think, and their clients a lot happier. So I think maybe that's all I'm going to say on that. But hint, hint, it has to do with this episode.
There might be a link in the description.
There might be a link in the description.
We'll see.
But yeah, if I could give advice, I would say don't let like a technique, don't let a technique lasting longer discourage you. Don't get discouraged if you were just taught one way to do eyebrows and that is with a single needle and all you know how to do is whip shading. I do think it's important to know like whip shading, pointillism, shoveling, pendulum, circles. The list goes on because during an eyebrow, sometimes, I'm like shoveling, I'm circling, I'm pointillism, but it's all also too knowing to see how much color is in the skin, which is really important for ombre brows specifically, as well as because seeing how much color in the skin can be difficult, especially if the skin gets red. Your skin didn't really get red though.
No,
when we did them.
And I didn't really bleed either.
No,
the second time I think I did a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah,
it's good.
I think sometimes I'll get excited because I'm on the flip side. I always use single needle. I always use dilution, and that's how I get my ombres. It's by diluting the pigment at different levels. But sometimes I'll get excited. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna do a single needle on the front of these, and it's gonna be so pretty. And I'll go to do it, and I'm like, no, I ain't. The second the skin starts bleeding excessively, I'm not going to use that needle on that skin type. You're causing extra trauma for no reason. When you can dilute the pigment down, you literally can use a 25% pigment and 75% dilution, get a wash of color. It'll be done in literally 20 seconds versus trying to layer with that single needle again and again and again. You're just tearing up that skin. I don't think our touch-up session, with you, we filmed your touch-up.
Yeah. And I didn't really think I needed a touch-up. We did it because of the filming.
Yeah, we did it because of the filming.
They looked really good still, but I enjoyed the fresh look. I do.
And I think
but I didn't really need it.
Did we do your touch-up? Was it a year later, though?
It was a year later.
It was a year later.
But I was still good at that point.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Yeah.
So Sasha took one for the team.
Yeah, I'm like, shoot, I'll buy Miss Amber Ray and get me on the table. Let's do it. Can't pass that up.
Oh, my gosh. So let's just be fun with this real quick. So, because from a client standpoint, because I can't tell people this stuff because they're like, well, you do eyebrows. You can't say that. What's been one of the best things since getting your eyebrows tattooed?
Oh, it takes off 10 to 15 minutes of my makeup in the morning. I get to sleep in a little later. Because just having to shape it every morning, it takes a minute,
Yeah.
But now I can just put some brow gel in and go. So that's my favorite.
Yeah, I got to get mine touched up, man. I'm 3 years. I keep filling these suckers in. It's you can go so long, and then once you go so long, I think I'm at 4 years right now. But once you go so long, your edges will start to fade, and then next thing you know, when you go to fill them in, you're like, wait a second, that doesn't look right. So I always tell people that's how they'll kind of know, especially if it's time. You never want that shape to go completely away. The shape goes completely away. It's you're starting over, and then you're more than likely looking at a follow-up session after that if there's no color to layer on top of. But yeah, I really love doing ombre brows with dilution. I think it's the best way to do ombre brows.
When you get your brows done, are you doing a full powder or are you doing ombre?
With mine, I do a full striking, a powder look. Yeah,
the striking
small
look.
Circles, full saturation. This time I might still do that, but just kind of do whip shading in the front, on the very fronts, because I've noticed I leave the fronts, I don't know if anybody else notices, but I leave the fronts just a little bit softer, so maybe I'll just do some whip shading in that area.
It's a tiny bit.
But yeah, I think that's what I just personally like. So, but yeah, ombre brows are really awesome. Like I said, I want to do single needle on people, but I just can't. It just depends. It takes a certain skin type, and I think you need to have the tools and know all of the different movements, all of the different, ways to work. If you're on a skin type that's just not working for that particular needle or that particular movement that you're using, I think it's very important that you know in that moment how to switch it up and how to adjust accordingly. So, anyways. Hopefully you guys found this episode amazing. And like Sasha said, make sure to read the description of this episode because we might be dropping something special down there for you guys. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Bye.
Peace.